Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's video we're doing a combination between a new PC case review and a build guide. It is, in my opinion, bar none, the most beautiful case that I've ever seen. I absolutely love the sort of four corners that look like handles and also double as feet. I love the rounded corners on the glass, and I also love the fact that the front is glass, this side is glass, the top is glass, which I thought would be really cool but wasn't a for sure requirement. However, the back of it is also glass, which I did not want. Why would you want to see all the messy wires at the back of the case? However, this is the way it came, so this is what we got. This case is micro ATX, and it also takes ITX, of course. And as you can see, it comes with 3 pre-installed 120mm fans with the white LED rings around them. They're not RGB, they're just white. They seem to be quite quiet, so that's good. Now we'll do the porn peel, or whatever it is they call it on YouTube. Everybody seems to enjoy this, and I'll see. I've never done this before on camera, so we'll see how it goes. If I can get it past there, there we go. I thought this glass caution sticker would have been on the plastic, but I see it's not. It's on the glass itself. One of the complaints that I read on a review on Newegg was that because like these raised sections on the four corners are actually rubber, or some kind of soft rubbery kind of material, and because the case sits on this slightly narrower footprint, the guy complained that the case is kind of wobbly. Now the way I have it sitting on here on these mats, it's probably going to be even more wobbly than it would if it was sitting on a flat surface like the glass table here. But, you know, that's a valid point for sure. But certainly wouldn't stop me from buying the case or from being happy with the case. The fan filter goes down here at the bottom. And actually, it looks very good. The motherboard standoffs are pre-installed, which is very nice for speed and ease of installation. My first impressions of the case quality is absolutely top-notch. This case is solid. The steel is very thick and excellent quality. There's a beautiful finish on the steel, and of course the glass is top-notch as well. At the back we have 5 expansion slots, and they all have the removable PCI slot covers, and they all have thumb screws. At the front of the case there's a bracket which holds the fans. Now at the front you can mount either two 120mm fans or 2 140mm fans. 2 120s or 2 140s at the top. And the back only takes a 120. In the basement, underneath the shroud here, or behind the shroud, is the hard drive sleds. There's 2 of them. And what's really cool, which I didn't know when I bought the case, is that the hard drive sled can slide back and forth and it's got quite a good amount of adjustment. And it's 4 thumb screws, which is really cool. So you just loosen those and you can slide them back and forth. And I'm guessing that if you take the 4 screws out, you can remove the drive sled altogether. I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing. At the top of the case is quite a large space here, because it's not a really big case in terms of the internal volume, but it is quite tall. And this is nice, because if you're going to mount a radiator in the top, very often it encroaches on the motherboard, the RAM, and whatever. And because this case is taller than it needs to be, there's lots of space at the top. It comes with the usual stuff. You can look it up on the internet if you want to. You just go to Newegg and look up the case, and you can find all the specifications. At the front there is a power button. There's no reset button. There are 2 USB 3 ports, a headphone, microphone jack. There's a USB Type-C jack. It's really nice to see. I just noticed that all of the cables for the front panel connectors are all black. None of that ketchup and mustard garbage. As far as drive mounts go, you can see the holes here so that you can mount one 2.5 or one 3.5. It comes with special screws. You screw them into the drive, and then you put the screws through these holes here, and then you slide them in one direction and they lock into place. And over here toward the front fans, there's also another drive mount, and I'm not sure what drive it'll take. It's not the same as this one, which takes both. So it's either a 3.5 or a 2.5, it looks like. And I'm assuming the drive sleds are 2.5 or 3.5. I haven't looked at them yet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a time lapse of me removing all the parts from my Phanteks Enthoo Pro. I'll set them all out on the table, and then we'll do a time lapse of me installing all the parts into the new case. And that's it. So let's get to the build. Before I do the teardown of my old case, my old system, and do the build in the new Coeus Elite, I just wanted to show my old PC, and just let you see that this is the Phanteks Enthoo Pro M. Beautiful case, excellent quality. I actually do like the acrylic window, although it's a little bit small for me. It looks fine, it's nice and everything, but it's not glass. So I'll just give you a quick look of the inside. And there we have my huge Zalman Cube heatsink with no fan. It's passive. You can put a fan in it, but I don't have a fan in it right now. And unfortunately, I'm going to lose my front bay, which has a hard drive caddy in it, which I'm kind of disappointed about, but there's always compromises in life, so you do the best you can with what you've got. Okay, so let's get on with the build. have a sheet full of information, but also some caveats that you might want to keep in mind if you're considering buying this case, which I would highly recommend. Now then, as you can see, my humongous passive heatsink for the CPU fits in there perfectly. In fact, if the glass goes here, there's actually quite a bit of room to spare. So there was no problem that way. I was really happy about it. The cooler height for this case is 175 millimeters. I also looked up some specs for radiator mounting, because I know some of you will want to know that. So you can do a 240 or a 280 on the top, and as you can see, I have a 140 mil fan here, and you can see there's still quite a bit of room. And of course, if you're doing water cooling, you wouldn't have this humongous heatsink here, so there's tons of room at the top. So you can do a 240 or a 280 on the top, and at the front here you can do a 240 or a 280, and it can be up to 60 millimeters thick. So, but you have to mount it on the front. You remove the fan, housing, the fan mount, which is this. You have to remove this, and then you mount it directly to the front steel of the case. And there you go, you got lots of room. And there's lots of room at the bottom here. There's a cutout where the basement shroud or whatever only comes up to here, and then the rest is open. Although there is a drive cage in there. So if you want to put a big fat radiator in there, you may have to remove the drive cage, or at least slide it back towards the back. Now you can have up to a 350 millimeter graphics card. Now what that's based on, I don't know. I don't know whether it's based on, when the fan mount is in there, you can have a 350 millimeter graphics card up to the fans, or I don't know. But that's what the specs on the internet said. The power supply can be up to 200 millimeters, and I have a couple of caveats about that too. The power supply that I have in here is a 650 gold EVGA, and it's modular. It's actually quite a large power supply, so I actually had to move the drive cage all the way to the front in order to have enough space for the cables. You can also have, if you remove the filter at the bottom here, there's also two drive mounts down here for 120 or 140, so you can have two fans there. One caveat about mounting the power supply with the fan facing up, I did that because I'm concerned about the restricted airflow, coming into the case because of all the glass and the space between the glass and the steel. So I wanted to make sure that the power supply was being used to draw hot air from the case and exhaust it out the back. However, there is one caveat, and that is that the basement, the opening in the basement for the fans, actually covers about half, a little less than half of the power supply fan. So there's a bit of restriction there. It's kind of a strange design. I left the one included fan in there with the white LED. Now, as you can see, the LEDs are not on, and I plugged the fan into the motherboard header. I was baffled as to why the LEDs were not on, and I spent a little bit of time looking into it, kind of thing. I thought, well, this is really odd, because I had them plugged in before with the Molex connector, and the fan was on and the LEDs were on. So I fiddled around for a bit and realized that the reason the LEDs are not on is because the motherboard is controlling the fan speed, and the fan speed is low right now, and there's not enough voltage to turn the LEDs on. So if the motherboard, if it gets hot in there and the motherboard speeds up the fan, then you'll see the LEDs slowly come on. They'll be dim, and then they'll get brighter if the fan gets faster. Now with these fans, the three included fans, each one has a little tiny switch on it, a little micro switch on a wire, and I thought it might be to change fan speed, but it's actually to turn the LEDs on and off. An interesting caveat about the drive trays is they have these really cool silicone soft mount points for vibration dampening, which is amazing. But if you mount the 3.5-inch drive on these silicone mount points, it makes the drive too tall and you can only fit one drive in there. You can't even put the drive tray in, like I put my 3.5-inch drive in the bottom spot in the drive cage, and then I went to put this second caddy above the 3.5-inch drive, and it won't go in because these dampening mounts make the drive way too tall. So if you wanted to put two 3.5-inch drives in there, you'd have to not use these, which is kind of weird, kind of stupid. I wrote down a note here about unfiltered air intake. The fact that, you know, you've got 4 glass panels and no air filters except for the one over the basement here. So all the air being drawn in is going to be unfiltered, and unfortunately that's one of the trade-offs with this type of case is it's going to be dusty, and I think this computer is going to get very dusty very quickly. The power button up here, I don't know if you can see it, is kind of cool. It's got a white LED ring on it, which is very subtle, and I didn't think about it at the time until I plugged it in and turned it on and was using my computer for a few minutes, and then I thought, oh, where's the hard drive LED? Well, it turns out there's another LED, a red one, inside the white ring. So the hard drive LED is very, very subtle. You could hardly even see it. The PSU, I read in the manual that it's tool-free mounting, and I was like, no, it's not. I put screws in to hold the power supply in. Then I looked in the manual and I see that they give you 4 thumb screws in order to mount the power supply. I wanted to mention, I noticed when I was putting the top and the front panels on, actually all the glass panels are tinted. Now on the internet, somebody said that the back panel is tinted more than the front one. I forgot to check that, but I don't know. I'm kind of suspicious as to whether there's actually any difference. My final word on this case is that it is absolutely, bar none, the best case that I've ever owned. I love the aesthetic. I love the design. I love the glass, of course, which is why I bought it. Super, super high quality. I hope that you have enjoyed my review / build guide by actually working with the case. I hope that I've provided you with some useful information to try and make a decision as to whether this is a product that you'd like to purchase. My recommendation is 100% fantastic. There are some caveats, but that goes with everything in life, certainly with all computer cases, at least the ones that I've worked on. That's gonna conclude this one. So please like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And thanks for watching.